This is the biggest tax cut that Americans are going to see in their lifetime. Thanks to President Trump and congressional Republicans, the working family tax cuts are putting more money back into the hardworking Americans' pockets. Our hardest working Americans, our small businesses, our tipped and overtime workers. If you look at President Trump's 3 key tax reform items, it's no tax on tips, overtime, Social Security. Of the 120 million Americans that have already filed tax returns, over 50 million are benefiting from that. So we're seeing the average tax refund right now up 11% to $3,400 per family. And 15% more people are getting tax refunds this year. That includes small businesses that are benefiting $7,000 so far at 12 million small businesses. So it is indeed promises made, promises kept, and that's why America is open for business again.
This year, refunds are up 13%, and we've got, as of April 12th, we had 52 million returns filed. And of those returns, 45% of them have one of the president's 4 signature policies in the working families tax cuts. So no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, reduced taxes for seniors, and deductibility of auto loans for American-made cars. By far, what we're seeing on the tax returns, the biggest is almost 25% have taken no tax on overtime. And it's the American way. You want to work harder, you keep more of it.
All businesses are seeing the benefits of this tax bill in real time, paired with deregulation, paired with fair trade. But just look at the benefits of the tax bill for the workers of small business. Over 30 million Americans have already benefited from no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. I was in Ohio at March 1st Brewers. They had over 200 employees. They're getting on average $2,500 back thanks to these tax cuts. That's going to continue to power this boom that's happening on Main Street under Bidenomics. Main Street was crushed with Green New Deal, massive regulation, being put on their back foot by unfair trade deals. So these small businesses are coming back, and I've seen it in Coosa Steel. They were down to 1 shift of workers. Now they're up to 3 shifts, 6 days a week. So we see this transformation going on across the country because the president's tailwinds are much stronger than any short-term headwinds.
And we are looking indeed at a transformation that's happening in our nation. Couple different fronts of that. Obviously on the financial side of things, and that the Democrats are completely falling apart. They've got absolutely nothing to offer Americans. All they want is for somebody to help them get rid of President Trump. Eliminate. I'm actually going to say the words eliminate President Trump, because we just had a Democrat come out and actually say that. You're not going to, well, I was going to say you're not going to believe this, but you probably will. Listen to this.
Because if we wanted to eliminate abuse and fraud, we'd eliminate the president of the United States from the office right now and the rest of the sycophants in his administration that are allowing him to do so many illegal things.
These people are completely insane. Now you're finding out, the more the onion layers get pulled back, we are seeing that most of these Democrats should never be in office. You have to wonder, how in the hell were these people selected? How were they input to be in their offices? They can't even complete sentences. They're exposing themselves. They have nothing to offer the American people. Nothing. I keep waiting for them to tell us something. What do you think we should, be voting for Democrats for? Nothing. All I want to do is take your money and impoverish you and get rid of Trump and go back to open borders. But no, please tell me, what are you doing for me? They don't even know the answer. As I've said many times, the answer to that is we're not going to do anything directly for you. We're going to open up and give you as much opportunity for you to take advantage of it so that you can do different things with your money. They will never, ever say that. Not only will they never say it, it's because they don't even understand what's happening. Listen to this.
There's plenty of disagreement whether Wall Street and Main Street are always aligned, but at least we know that the corporate profitability and the economy and profit margins are reflected in what happens in the averages. So in other words, if we're facing a recession, it's unlikely for the stock market to be doing well. We can look at the bond market as well. So I just wanted to show you a couple of charts. One is the S&P, one is the NASDAQ. We're back to all-time highs, basically, on most of the averages. You can see that when the tariffs were enacted, that's in the middle of the chart.
So as you're watching this, I want you to look at Hakeem Jeffries' completely vapid face. He has no idea what these people are talking about. He has no idea the implications of the numbers the guy is talking about, Joe. And even Joe Kerr's like, he can actually see that Hakeem Jeffries has no clue, nothing. All he's there is to just repeat the party line over and over. More and more billionaires. And he's like showing him this benefits all of America. Hakeem Jeffries, look at his face.
It was a sell-off, quick rebound, and the same sort of situation happening now. Same with the NASDAQ. And then also, I just want to show you quickly the 10-year note or interest rates. Go back for the same period of time. And inflation is not where the Fed wants it. It's not where anyone wants it. But you would normally see, if there was a true crisis, you would normally see some type of panic or angst in the bond market.
All right. So this guy is on CNBC. He works in the investment trade. He talks to people all the time. And he's telling them, you know, if this was like this chart would indicate that. You know, we're seeing it's not doing the fire sale that you guys think it is. It's not happening that bad. Oil is actually way down again. What is exactly is happening, Hakeem? You got to admit it's working, don't you? Don't you?
So just in terms of Wall Street, you would not know things are going very poorly the way that you describe it. Things are going pretty well.
Well, actually, I talk to corporate leaders all the time, and they're incredibly concerned with the instability and the uncertainty that Donald Trump and Republican policies have created. Because as you know, Joe, it's impossible to make sound investment decisions when you have such an uncertain, unstable public policy environment, which Donald Trump has continued to put forward.
I love, as he's talking, whoever's working the board at CNBC, as he's spewing this absolute bullcrap, they put up a chart going, you see this? I don't know who it is you're talking, Hakeem. Bullcrap. But I love how they did it. They went split screen and showed a chart straight up while he's talking. Oh, it's embarrassing.
In terms of the way in which he's conducted himself. And so that's highly problematic. And the reality is, at the end of the day, for the American people that we all are privileged to represent here in Congress, that, yeah, for the investing class under Donald Trump's policies, including his one big ugly bill, which enacted the largest cut to Medicaid in American history at the same time that these Republican, my colleagues, provided massive tax breaks to their billionaire donors, the investor class is doing well.
You're on CNBC. Not really sure if you understand the audience who's watching CNBC. Because you just said, yeah, the investor class is doing well. Everybody watching CNBC was like, yes, tell us more about how we're doing well. I can see the chart next to your big head. But, and there's going to be a but, it's not working for everybody else, just the investor class. Who's the investor class? Tell me who the investor class is that you think's doing well and the other people aren't doing well. See, that's where their problem is. He's indicating he doesn't give a shit about you. You're out there doing something. You may have a 401k. You may have an IRA. You may have some real estate. You may have some gold. You may have some silver. Not you. We're not talking about you. You people don't matter to us.
The problem is the working class is not. And Donald Trump promised to focus on making life more affordable for working class Americans. And in that regard, all evidence indicates he has failed.
The same thing with this term fair share. Please define working class. Because I'm pretty sure there are people here in the Fanfare family who are working class. I'm pretty sure I am working class. I'm pretty sure almost every American who goes to work and punches the clock is working class. And are you saying that working class people are not the same people as investor class people? Because that's what he just said. Oh, the investor class people are doing fine. But the working class people, no, shit sucks for them. Well, maybe they should learn how to become investor class people. Maybe instead of buying, $300 Nikes, they should buy a couple ounces of silver or gold. Maybe that's your problem. You have not taught the people you are looking for in your audience how to be the investor class, how to prosper. Because I even know retirees who are in the investor class. They're no longer in the working class. They're in the investor class. Those bad people. And no one's helping the working class. Well, I could turn on every single station. I could turn on MSNBC even, and I could see people working. I could turn on CNN. Won't like what they have to say. I could mute it, but I could see people working. So tell me who the working class is who are completely devoid of any ability to have any sort of investment. My 17-year-old grandson, who's not even, he's in a working class, he's got a job, but now he's also in the investor class. So should I tell him at 17, you don't want to do this. It's no good for you. You should just work, don't invest. My 13-year-old granddaughter is now in the investment class. She's not working, but we have her own account set up for her so she can be in investment class. She may not be buying stock, but she's investing in other things. She may buy herself a dress. She's learning how to be a member of the producing economy. So by the time she's older, she understands the pitfalls and understands what she should be doing. Something like you should be teaching your constituents, bozo. They use these words to put people in boxes, to keep people in boxes. They keep people in boxes because they keep having to keep their hands open instead of learning to be a part of the class that he was talking to you about that was showing all the graphs that were up and down. They don't even understand the language. This is their leader in the House. This isn't some just, swallow guy who's out there doing untoward things. This is their leader, and he doesn't get it. So if one of the leaders of the Democrat Party can't explain to his constituents how they should be in the investment class, then there's no hope for the Democrat Party, and even worse for their constituents. I would hate to be somebody who doesn't even want to know the knowledge, who doesn't even understand anything that Joe from CNBC was telling him. Completely obtuse. Doesn't even care. We got to talk about these po peoples that are on food stamps and, get the bus pass and the Obama phone. No, that's all we need to be talking about. We shouldn't be helping a large swath of people who like opportunity. You see, today it's tax day, and tax day of a sort that, most of us have not seen before. And so today, I'm pretty sure, in case you don't like it, and if it's one of those things that you're not into, this might not be a show you want to watch. because I'm pretty sure it's going to be all about prosperity and money. From President Trump, I've got his interview lined up here from when he talked to Maria Bartiromo this morning to today's press conference with Karoline Leavitt. She's bringing on Scott Bessent, and also Kelly Loeffler, who we've talked to quite a few times. So today is definitely a money show. Before we get to it, let me show you what's going on in the actual market as we speak. In case you haven't followed, we are supposedly in a bad place with oil, but oil, as you can see, is down to $88 a barrel. Silver prices up to $79.49, up 5% just today. Just today. Up 5%. Hey, how's it been the last 5 days? Up 7% for the last 5 days. Last month, we're a little bit down. Last 6 months, up 55%. Yeah, I like being in the investor class. I like being in that class that you are trying to impugn, because that means we're doing something right. If I have to do this to the government, I'm doing something wrong. And I want to make sure my grandkids understand that for sure. Let me ask SB what he's got going on. How you doing this morning?
Hey, I'm doing all right. Happy tax day, everyone.
Happy tax day. You got anything
Just a friendly reminder. I have a friendly reminder. If you keep voting left, you'll have nothing left. Keep that in mind.
I like that. I like that a lot. If you keep voting left, you'll have nothing left. And I can tell you, Zorhan the Great up in New York City is just going to, he and Kathy Hochul and their little fiefdom that they're doing up there, and just wanting to attack people. And people are going to leave. I can't believe how busy it is down here. Ashley is starting to get really immersed into real estate. The first thing she opened up when she went into the dashboard, and she saw that the fastest moving properties. Let me tell you this, SB. The fastest moving, fastest selling properties in Broward and Palm Beach County are over $1 million.
Wow.
Fastest moving.
Ka-ching.
Yes. So come on down and keep going. Fastest moving. And they just released that. And these are people who are basically interest rate agnostic. They're buying them sight unseen, calling in, hey, listen, put an offer in. We'll take it. And it's going. Amazing. So if you see me doing,
it just goes to show how the Democratic, state cities have just driven people out. They don't care. They just want to get the heck out to something better.
I think there's a plan here. Here's the plan, I think, because they know they can't afford to do what Mandami and even, I guess, Spansberger up where you are. They know they can't afford it. What they're thinking is Trump will get out of office and the government will bail them out, or rather, you and I will bail them out. Because that's how it's been. They can't afford to do the craziness they do, but Biden strokes them a check for a couple billion, and they just can keep doing the same crazy ass stuff over and over and over.
I don't know if how they're going to do that when we continue to find fraud and then eliminate it. Just in, Trump OMB Director Ross Vaught, he reveals mass amounts of illegal aliens, foreigners, and fraudsters have been kicked off taxpayer-funded health care.
Wow.
And that's driving them nuts. They're having a meltdown about that right this second.
That's absolutely insane.
Yeah, so
now we just got to start seeing people go to jail.
Yeah, I would like to see that. I mean, a little bit more, obviously Eric Swalwell, there was a drop this morning too. Apparently they could prove, they have receipts showing that he spent some of the, taxpayer money at the hotel where he was allegedly with one of the people.
He's gonna sing. He's gonna sing like a bird. There's no way he doesn't go to. We may find out that he fell off a cliff in California, jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge or something, because
earthquake.
Oh my God, something's going. There's no way that, number one, he's not going down alone, and number two, everybody knows he's not going to go down alone. So he may have to have some unfortunate car accident or something. Who knows?
The thing is, when there's that much craziness going on, I mean, they eat their own, there's going to be other people coming out. I mean, it has to be, because that's just how it works. They all stab each other in the back. I mean, besides what you were saying earlier, that they have no answers for anything, they don't solve anything, they just complain, screech, and say Trump, Trump, Trump. I mean, this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. We expect a lot more in the next coming days. It's going to get crazier.
SP, like I told you, this is one of those days where, some days I have to figure out what am I going to do for a show. This isn't one of those days. There is so much information. So they just turned on the feed inside of the White House room. What I'm probably going to do. So if you see people commenting, if Fox is on time, I'll take the Fox feed because they often show the reporters. But I have the direct feed from the White House lined up as well, so we'll jump back and forth. And then, not sure you guys know this, at 2:00, Melania is supposed to come up. She's going to have some sort of meeting with foster children or something. So we got back-to-back press conferences, plus President Trump's interview with Maria Bartiromo. I guess that's how you say it. And then I've got an interview with Melania Trump's producer that I want to show you. So whole bunch of stuff coming. Stay tuned, SV. We got a lot of stuff for you. All right.
Yes.
All right, everybody. If you guys have not as of yet, and today might be a good day to begin, because you're going to hear a lot about money. Maybe you got a big tax refund. If you got a decent tax refund, maybe today might be the time for you to look at some silver and gold. I'm not saying make the purchase. I'm saying just look at it, understand where things are going, and understand how things are influencing this market and how the arrhythmia of the entirety of the I guess you'd call it the craziness at their manipulation, because right now they have been trying, and as you've seen, they've been trying to suppress everything. They've been trying to manipulate everything because they know at this point that the end is near for their ability for the deep state to continue to make us pay for their mistakes. So the days of excessive money printing, overvalued markets, and global unrest are finally catching up to them, and they really don't have any answers for President Trump. So instead of pulling back, now is the time to do your research and be ready to strike when you feel comfortable. Keep your eyes open, watch the trends, get some information from my friends at Lear Capital. Experts are still predicting $6,000 an ounce gold and $150 to $200 an ounce silver. If I can advise you, do not at all look at paper stuff. Make sure whatever you look at, and this will be a part of your education, to look at physical gold and silver. And that's something you're only going to learn by actually reading up about it or contacting my friends at Lear Capital. Everything you've seen is being driven by geopolitical uncertainty, inflation, the media, and a perceived weakening U.S. dollar because of all this oil stuff. And you also know that, and you'll hear this in President Trump's interview, it's almost time for Jerome Powell to make his exit. So is it time for you to buy some gold or silver? That's a decision only you can make or the people around you. But if you call Lear Capital, they'll help you by getting the most accurate information you'll need to make an informed decision. So call the best in the business and the company that Robin and I personally trust and do business with. Call Lear Capital. It's a free call. There's no obligation to purchase, just education and information on protecting and growing your wealth with gold and silver. Now, I'm sure there are many of you who have watched this show and haven't called and haven't purchased for whatever reason that you have. That's up to you. But education is free. Even if you don't do anything today, if you start saying, you know what, I got to learn about this. I want to understand what's the difference between physical gold and these certificates and stuff. Which should I do? When is a good time? What is influencing the gold and silver pricing? And consuming that for free is going to be giving you the stimulus to actually get something done. Unlike Hakeem Jeffries, move into being part of the investor crowd, as he called it. What did he call it? The investor class. If you call Lear Capital, they even help you shift some of your money when you're ready from a retirement account over to physical gold and silver. It's easy to do. I've been extremely satisfied with Lear's knowledge, service, and prices. So I urge you to call today simply to learn more. 800-601-5430, 800-601-5430, or go to learberry.com to learn more. All right, let's start the show.
One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet whom millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
China wants to beat us on so much, you know that.
Of course, and we want to beat them. And we want to beat them too.
To AI. I want to ask you about AI.
Maria.
Yeah.
But we want to beat them too.
Will we beat them?
Well, we're leading in AI because of me. We're leading. You know why? I'm letting them build their own electric power plants. They're becoming a utility. I said to Mark Zuckerberg, congratulations, you're in the electric business. Because if I didn't do, that was my idea actually. They're building these massive plants, and if they took it from the grid wouldn't be able to handle it. I said, no, if you want to build it, you have to build your own power, and then they will be giving excess power back into our grid. And these things are all under construction right now. So we're beating China on that. We're beating China on the economy. We have a great economy. Remember, if I didn't want to make that little journey to Iran, that was a journey. I said, we're going to have to do this for the good of the world.
So you still expect growth in the economy this year? No recession?
I mean, I do. Look, we had a couple of months where I had to go to a war. I had to go and fight either a military operation. Some people would call it a war. Some people call it a military operation. It was easy because we have the greatest military in the world. But I had to divert because if I didn't do that, right now, you would have Iran with a nuclear weapon. And if they had a nuclear weapon, you would be calling everybody over there, sir. And you don't want to do that.
Well, you keep saying was. Is this war over?
I think it's close to over, yeah. I mean, I view it as very close to over. You know what? If I pulled up stakes right now, it would take them 20 years to rebuild that country. And we're not finished. But we'll see what happens. I think they want to make a deal very badly.
That's pretty unprecedented. I mean, having direct talks like that.
I have talks with everybody, but it's very effective. I think you're going to have a great deal. I'm doing a great job for the country and for the world. You know, we've had no help, zero from NATO. We're there for them. They're not there for us. We spend, you saw the chart that came out a couple of days ago, with a big monster red ball. That was us. And all these little satellite balls. and it represented the money spent on military and NATO, and it's ridiculous. And they should have been better. They should have said, we'll send somebody. It's a small operation compared to a big operation. But NATO was not there for us. And what it means, if they're not there for us here, they're not going to be there for us. So why are we spending hundreds of billions of dollars a year on NATO if they're not going to be with us? If they're not going to be with us on Iran, they're not going to be with us on a much bigger subject than Iran.
Did you see that Britain suffered the biggest growth forecast downgrade in the G7?
Yeah, well.
So their economy is impacted.
It's the UK. I would say this. They got to stop with the windmills, and they got to open up the North Sea. They have the North Sea in Aberdeen, Scotland. It's the biggest, one of the most incredible oil fields anywhere in the world. It's got hundreds of years left. And you know what they do? They closed it because they want so much that the oil companies are begging them to go there. They called me, please speak to them. They made it impossible because of the environmentalists, the horrible environmentalists that hurt that country so badly. And they're going with the windmills, destroying their fields all over the place. They have that problem, and then they have the problem of immigration. What Europe has done with immigration, most of the countries, not all, what they've done with immigration is horrible.
Do we still have the same relationship with Italy right now and Giorgia Meloni?
No. She's been negative. Anybody that turned us down for helping with this Iran situation, we do not have the same relationship. Just so you know, Italy gets a lot of oil from the Strait. You can call it the Strait of Hormuz or the Hormuz Strait. I said, which is better? They said, either is okay, but you can call it either one. The only thing you can't call it is the Trump Strait. They don't like that idea. By the way, speaking of that, I did a thing that people like very much, except for Mexico. I took the Gulf of Mexico, and we now call it the Gulf of America. That's not bad.
And Google changed it, I know that.
And Google,
but look, did you see
and by the way, Google was great on that.
Did you see Europe is now drafting a program and plan to open up the Hormuz Strait without the United States?
That's so sad. We're doing it now. By the way, it's opening. The ships are coming back and forth. Oh, without the United States. It just shows you, how can you have a country, how can you have a group of countries with that attitude? Look at Greenland. We should have Greenland to protect the world against Russia and China. The mention of it, all of a sudden they get, this country should not be paying trillions of dollars to NATO.
Mr. President, I got to ask you about AI. This is an important question, I think, for...
Before she gets into AI, this whole thing about NATO and Europe, they can't extricate themselves. Even Giorgia Meloni in Italy, it just seems like they are in a downward spiral without any possible way of pulling out. I didn't expect Giorgia Meloni to stay close to Trump. And here's why. When he got into that spat with the Pope at the Vatican, I pretty much was thinking, okay, here's the next shoe to drop, because the Vatican, obviously, so much money over there, right in the heart of Italy, right in Rome. And so now I just feel like she was put in a position where she had to come to the defense of the Pope. But in any event, with Ursula yesterday saying just use less electricity and everything will be fine. The least electricity you use is better for your pocketbook. They are getting caught in this trap where wherever they're getting money from, they are becoming beholden to. And so now as everything is happening in Hormuz, the Strait of Hormuz and Iran, they are kind of weirded out because they sold out to this green new craziness, yet they really know they need the oil to keep going. And the more or less oil they have, the more the green stuff gets exposed as being complete BS. They could hide it. Oh, we're going to move to this. We're going to do this. We're going to make electric cars. We're going to, use windmills, because we're augmenting it. We're supplementing it with oil. And so they sell it to the nuts that the windmills and the panels and everything are working, because they don't realize it's being supplemented so much with oil. Now, as the oil is being shrunk, they're like, well, we can't even use air conditioning. We can't cook. You know, and people in France and Italy like to cook. Oh, there's no gas. And so at this point, it's being exposed in Europe. Never mind all the immigration stuff. Never mind all these people they let in from all these countries. How are we going to pay for them if we don't have any oil for even our own use? How are we going to keep all these people housed and fed? It's a nightmare for NATO. It's a nightmare for Europe. And the thing President Trump exposed is they can't do anything about it. Just imagine that. We're not going to protect you. You don't get any oil. You're stuck on your own because you wouldn't support. Now, how are you going to fend as sovereign nations? You're a sovereign nation. You are your own country, and you can't afford to feed and use the electricity in your own country because you got beholden to some group of nuts. And it's all like being exposed. I've had friends I know who live over there, won't tell you where, who have contacted me and like, it's getting bad. And then some of these nuts in the street, I don't know what they call them, migrants. They want. And they can't give it. They can't feed them anymore. I saw something on television today said Iran had about 2 weeks before they run out of power. 2 weeks. They can't even sustain themselves. And so President Trump over here, not only is he fighting the nuts in Iran and now Europe, but he's fighting people in our own government who care more about the people who aren't supposed to be here.
Audience, and we saw reports that Treasury Secretary Bessent and Chairman Jay Powell called an emergency meeting with the major banks because they said that there was a risk over the Anthropic model. And the worry is that bad actors are actually going to be able to hack into these banks and faster than institutions can actually respond. Do you see this as a systemic threat?
Not systemic. We'll work it out. AI is very important. Billions and even trillions of dollars is being invested in our country because of it. It's got some bad aspects. It's got mostly good aspects medically and so many other ways. You'll be finding cures to diseases that you would have never found before. There are a lot of good things, but we have to be careful with it. Like everything else, we have to be careful with it. But when you tell me Bessent is great, when you tell me about Jerome Too Late Powell, he's a disaster. Here's a man who took this little tiny building and a couple of other little tiny complex, and he's spending more than $3 billion. I want to know who the contractor is, because that contractor is making billions of dollars, perhaps. So he's doing a bad job. He should be lowering interest rates.
But do you think that Kevin Warsh is going to get confirmed next week?
I think so. I hope so. Yeah, I hope so.
But I mean, Tom Tillis is still blocking it.
Yeah, but Tom Tillis is an American. He knows what to do. Let's see what happens.
Will you tell or at least advise Judge Janine to end that criminal probe into Jay Powell so that Tom Tillis...
Well, it's really more than that. It's more than a criminal probe. It's a criminal probe, I guess, but it's also a probe on incompetence. How do you take a little building? I built a hotel for $201 million that's bigger than that building, down the road. It's a little while ago, 7 years ago, 8 years ago. I built the Trump Hotel, which I sold to Waldorf Astoria. It's a good deal. I built it like around $200 million in construction. They're going to spend maybe $4 billion. And you know what? I'm not sure the thing's ever going to open. You know, I do that stuff very well. I went past the site the other day. I was driving past. They said, take me past the Federal Reserve building. They took me past. There's very little work done inside. Kevin may never get to have the use of that building. And he told me something very interesting. He said, the saddest part of it is they ripped down the most beautiful building of them all. They ripped it down. He said they had boardrooms and various rooms in that building that were the most beautiful in Washington, and they ripped it down. What they've done to that. So it is probably corrupt, but what it really is incompetent. And we have to show the incompetence of that. And he headed the job. He was, this guy, Jerome.
But you want Jay Powell out of the way. Isn't it the easiest way to get him out of the way to end the probe?
Does that mean we stop a probe of a building that I would have done for $25 million that's going to cost maybe $4 billion? Don't you think we have to find out what happened there? we have other jobs like that, like the railroad in California, where it's, 25 times more than it was originally going to cost. And I think they're going to end up abandoning it. Okay, that's Gavin Newsom, or as I call him, Gavin Newsom, who's so bad. But that's the one. But I think the Federal Reserve building is just as bad. And so whether it's incompetence, corruption, or both, I think you have to find out. I really do. I think you have to find out.
So you're not going to drop the probe?
Oh, I'm not playing. I have to find out.
And he said he's not leaving if,
Well, then I'll have to fire him, okay?
Okay, so Jerome Powell, his term is up. And he's saying, I'm not leaving. After your term has expired, now you're going to go head to the president, and you're going to make him fire your ass because you just don't want to see President Trump succeed. You don't want to see America succeed. The deep state has told you to dig in your heels, because if President Trump starts digging into this debacle of $4 billion that you spent, you'd think, if it was above board, why wouldn't you just say, hey, here are the books. Here are the books right here. Have you ever heard any company where the CFO or anybody who is involved in the accounting of a project says, I'm not going to show it to the boss? I want to see what you spent the money on. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe you're 100% correct. Maybe everything sucked and the contractor ripped you off. But to tell me we can't even look? To tell me that the American people don't deserve to know where billions of dollars got spent? That doesn't make any sense to anybody except the Democrats and Jerome Powell. They don't even want people looking. That tells you that there's just so much fraud, so much stuff sitting there that they don't even know what to do. They can't hide it because they probably didn't even try to hide it. This guy was never supposed to be in office. He was supposed to take a bullet in his head, and then Kamala was supposed to win, and nobody would have seen any of this stuff from USAID to the Somalis. Nobody would saw anything. And now they're completely stuck. They're stuck with their pants pulled down, and they don't know what to do except eliminate him, impeach him, 25th Amendment, because we can't possibly let the American people see how bad we screwed them. And you've got your little militant commies running around saying Trump this and Trump that, because they're ignoring all this, because many of them are being funded by the same people. Whereas you got up every morning, went to work, trusted that your money was being spent correctly, that there were good stewards, and they've been stealing us blind all over the place for decades. And I'm not sure why Maria seems to have the attitude she has. I'm going to give her some grace. And the reason I'm going to give her some grace is I know President Trump likes her. So what I'm thinking is you're seeing here is somebody who's trying to come across as though she's not, in Trump's camp. I'm going to be a little bit tough as a interviewer because I don't want it to see like I just laid down, because otherwise President Trump wouldn't be sitting with her. This is like the third or fourth time he's done interviews with her. He always seems to acknowledge her. Oh, she's great. So he wouldn't be coming back for more if he thought she was adversarial. So I think the slant you're watching is her trying to position herself as a fair reporter, if we can call it that. All right, 1:15, film is up, but she is not out, so let's continue.
If he's not leaving on time, I've held back firing him. I've wanted to fire him, but I hate to be controversial. I want to be uncontroversial. But
and you think Kevin Bush can get confirmed? You think Tom Tillis is going to give you a vote?
Well, we're going to have to find out. He might not, but that's why Tom Tillis is no longer a senator.
Okay. On the AI
Tom
thing,
Tillis is no longer a senator, right?
He's on his way out.
Well, no, he quit, but he quit. And I think he doesn't want the legacy of stopping a person who could be great. I think Kevin Bush is going to be great. He doesn't want the legacy of having an incompetent guy stay there for longer than is necessary. I know Tom Tillis, he's a good man. I don't think he's going to hurt. I know he said what he said, and maybe it's true, in which case I'll have to live with it. but not as chairman. This guy is a bad chairman, really bad chairman. And I was surprised when Biden extended him, to be honest with you, but he did. Interest rates should be much lower than they are right now.
And you think they will go lower later this year?
When Kevin gets in, I do, yeah.
Just to close the loop on AI, Mr. President, in a worst-case scenario, could that be the kind of technology that undermines confidence in the banking system?
Yeah, probably, but it could also be the kind of technology that allows greatness in the banking system, makes it better and safer and more secure.
So should government have some safeguards? Should there be a kill switch for some of these AI agents?
There should be, but let me say, we're leading in AI. We're leading China by a lot, actually. We're building plants that nobody ever imagined before, and it's going to be a tremendous, bigger than the internet. It's going to be tremendous. And there are always difficulties when you're at this stage of something. But, you know, when you mention banking, it could also make banking much bigger, much safer, much more efficient.
Let me just ask you about the midterms. Do you expect the Republicans to lose seats in the House? And what does that mean for your agenda?
Well, I just left with Mike Johnson and some great people, some great congressmen and women, and in the Oval Office. I think we're going to do good. Now, with that being said, when somebody gets elected president, that part.
Now, you heard what he just said. I think we're going to do good. There are actually people on X having a problem with that and calling him losing his mind because he didn't say, I think we're going to do well. All of the, so-called language experts and English teachers are being pissed off right now because he said, I think we're doing good. Yeah, it's that bad.
Party always loses the midterms. I don't know why. Nobody could explain it. I asked people that are deep into the psychological world, I said, why is it that a voter votes for the opposite party? It's even when you have a good president. I think I had the greatest year, the greatest opening year I've read. The greatest, look, I ended 8 wars. A 9th is coming. But I ended 8 wars. Nobody's ever ended 1 war. Who's ended 1? Nobody. I ended 8. We have the biggest tax cuts ever. We have the biggest regulation cuts ever. The greatest economy ever, pretty much including the fact that I took a detour into Iran in order to stop something that could have destroyed the world, right? But even when you have a great president, they tend to lose the midterms. It doesn't make sense to me, so we're going to try turning it around. In 50 years, I guess the president, the party with the president, has won twice. Why that happens, I don't know. We are really working hard to turn that around. We've had the greatest year in the history of the presidency, first year, and we should be giving credit. Look at the border. So we had a border that was an open civ. You covered it better than anybody.
So is that the message for voters going into the midterm elections? The border.
Yeah, I should get credit.
Leave them for?
Yeah, I think we should. Well, I think we have to bring it back to talk. We don't need help on the border. But, I built over 1,000 miles of wall. We have to talk about it because we should be given credit for having taken this disaster where people were criminals, were coming in from all over the world and pouring into our country. It's the worst thing that's ever happened. It was like an invasion. And we should be given, Maria, credit for it. So I'm going to be talking about it. But I'm also going to be talking about we gave the voters the biggest tax cut in history, the biggest regulation cuts in history, the best economy in history. And now what we're doing is we took this path, we knocked the hell out of Iran, we stopped them from they're not going to have a nuclear weapon, regardless. By the way, I could leave tomorrow. They would never be able to have a nuclear weapon. For years, they would, because their country is devastated. They don't have a Navy. They don't have an Air Force. They don't have an airplane. They're all gone. And the press doesn't write about it. The New York Times, you think, if you read the New York Times, this fake, horrible newspaper, you would think they're doing well in the war. They have nothing left. They're going to make a deal. We'll see what happens. We have to explain to the voters, so importantly, the great job that we've done. Because there's no reason why the Republicans should be losing. These people, they'll open up the borders again. They'll have transgender for everybody. They'll have men and women sports. They'll end no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security for our seniors. They'll end it all. And if people hear that, I don't see how we lose the election.
Final question on space, because Artemis 2, what a success. Congratulations.
Yeah, that's great.
Do you expect the United States will beat China in this race to the moon? And what do you want to say about the astronauts who circled the moon in Artemis 2? Where's that going?
So number one, they were great. I spoke to them as they were circling, right? Just after they came out of that dark cavity. Great, they're great. I'm the one that started that program. NASA was closed. It's totally closed. There was grass growing on the runways. I went there.
How are you? Good to see you. We have a packed house, and I have two very special guests with me today. I will start with some scheduling announcements. Tomorrow afternoon, President Trump will travel to Las Vegas, Nevada to hold a roundtable and deliver remarks on the working families tax cuts. On Friday, President Trump will travel to Phoenix, Arizona to deliver remarks at a Turning Point USA event at Dream City Church. And I'm really honored to be standing here today on Tax Day with two esteemed members of the President's cabinet and his excellent economic team, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Small Business Administrator Kelly Loeffler. As we have seen this tax season, President Trump's working families tax cuts have put a historic amount of money back into the pockets of the American people this year. On the campaign trail in 2024, President Trump looked voters in the eye and promised them he would sign the largest tax cuts in the history of our country. And on Independence Day last year, President Trump and congressional Republicans delivered, passing the largest tax cut in history for working and middle-class Americans, including no tax on tips, overtime, and Social Security. They also passed unprecedented tax relief for small businesses, farmers, workers, and families. With Tax Day officially here, the numbers prove these tax cuts have been nothing short of extraordinary. More than 53 million filers claimed at least one of President Trump's signature new tax cuts. The average refund this filing season is more than $3,400. The Trump administration has issued more refunds and larger refunds than in any year of the history of our country. And I will allow Secretary Bessent to break down the numbers in greater detail. President Trump and Republicans in Congress have always believed that the American people know how to spend their money better than the government does. But what the American people must not forget is that every single Democrat in Congress voted against these tax refunds. The media has largely omitted this fact and other critical details in their stories covering the benefits of the Trump tax cuts. If the Democrats in Congress had gotten their way and blocked President Trump's historic legislation, Americans would have faced the largest tax hike in history, nearly $4 trillion. The average taxpayer would have seen a 22% increase in their tax rates. Democrats in Congress have proven over and over again that they are the affordability frauds who believe the government should keep more of the American people's hard-earned money. This president and Republicans in Congress fundamentally believe that Americans deserve to keep more of their hard-earned paychecks. It's a clear contrast for American families to keep in mind. So with that, I will turn it over to our great Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, and then he will turn it over to Kelly. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Caroline. I'm here to tell you that it has been a fantastic tax season. It has gone smoothly. It has gone efficiently from the point of view of the IRS, but most importantly, it's been a great tax season for the American people. Thanks to promises made, promises kept, through the working families tax cuts, the president has delivered the record refunds to the American people. More than 45% of the filers of the returns that we have seen have had at least one of the four president's signature policies: no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, the deductions for our great seniors, and the deductibility of interest on auto loans for American-made cars. And I will tell you that one of those that Americans have taken is no tax on overtime. And it's the American way. If you want to work longer hours, you get to keep more of your money. And with that, we are seeing, I want to encourage everyone out there watching today to change their withholding if they haven't already done so, because if you change your withholding, then you will get an automatic real wage increase on a weekly or a monthly basis, and you will be able to keep more of your money this calendar year. So with that, we have also seen with the Trump accounts, we have had 5 million families file for Trump accounts for their children. 1.2 million of those are eligible for the $1,000 seed bonus. So we look forward to that picking up more and more. For those of you who haven't done it, it's easy to remember, Form 4547. You can do it while you're filing your taxes. You can do it at any point during the year. We think this is going to be transformational in terms of financial literacy. This is Financial Literacy Month, and at Treasury and all over the administration, we are working with the American people, with American families, not only to give them more of their money, but to show them how to invest it in a safe, smart, and sound way. So with that, I will turn it over to Kelly.
Great.
Thank you, Scott, and good afternoon, everyone. Excited to be here on Tax Day, important day for small business because small business and their employees have real relief thanks to President Trump's working family tax cuts. As administrator of the U.S. Small Business Administration, it is my great honor to serve our great president as the cabinet-level voice for America's 36 million small businesses. President Trump is right. Small business is big business. Indeed, they are a massive economic engine that creates 2/3 of all new jobs. They represent 99% of all businesses, and they drive about half of our GDP. The working family tax cuts are putting money back into the pockets of the hardest working Americans. That's why small business and their employees are benefiting the most. President Trump and congressional Republicans have saved Americans from a $4 trillion tax hike, including a staggering 20% tax increase on working families. It would have destroyed millions of jobs. Now, I've traveled the country from Maine to Alaska, and not a single 9% of all businesses, and they drive about half of our GDP. The working family tax cuts are putting money back into the pockets of the hardest working Americans. That's why small business and their employees are benefiting the most. President Trump and congressional Republicans have saved Americans from a $4 trillion tax hike, including a staggering 20% tax increase on working families. It would have destroyed millions of jobs. Now, I've traveled the country from Maine to Alaska, and not a single worker, not a single small business asked to pay $1 more in taxes. Yet every single congressional Democrat voted to raise taxes, not just on small businesses, on our workers, on our seniors, on hardworking families. Thankfully, Republicans united behind common sense policy of letting Americans, not Washington bureaucrats or fraudsters, keep more of what they earn. Now, so far, as you just heard, 12 million small businesses have an average tax saving of $7,000. The 20% small business pass-through deduction is now permanent, offering them certainty to plan for the future and the rocket fuel to create 1 million new jobs. Eric Williams at Prince Manufacturing in rural Georgia. He specializes in fabrication and machining. This year, he's reinvesting his tax savings to hire 500 new employees. The provisions for 100% expensing of equipment, expansion, and R&D are also growing production to help us reclaim industrial dominance. At Blue Patriot Fab, which I visited this week in Omaha, the owners highlighted one of their newest buildings, and they call it the Big Beautiful Building because the tax cuts helped them build it. Made in America is back, and that's why the America worker is winning too. No tax on tips and overtime means that millions of employees are now rewarded, not punished, for working more. And it's already benefited, as you just heard, 31 million taxpayers. In Baltimore, John and Tony Minidakis are proud second-generation owners of Jimmy's Seafood. Now, with no tax on tips and overtime, their 200 employees know that coming into work means going home with more pay. And Wade, a CNC machinist that I met at Lehigh Valley Plastics in Pennsylvania, said he routinely takes on extra shifts, and now the tax cuts reward his extra effort. And the benefits aren't just for tax season. As you've heard, the Trump accounts are connecting young people from birth to the power of our free enterprise system. With 529 savings accounts and Workforce Pell for trade schools, we're now training the next generation of skilled workers to fill millions of open jobs at small businesses. So in closing, America is open for business again. Yet every Democrat voted no on the very tax relief that is restoring Main Street, that is putting more money back into the pockets of hardworking families. Small businesses are rebounding from years of Biden inflation, decades of unfair trade, and massive regulatory overreach. But thanks to President Trump's tax cuts, they now talk about expansion, hiring plans, and generational opportunity. This is America First in action. Lower taxes, rising wages, and a thriving Main Street. Now millions of Americans are getting their largest tax refund ever, and Main Street is getting historic tax relief to keep the American dream alive. Thank you.
Good. And before we take questions, I want to provide some numbers for you all. So tax day statistics as of April 12th. Over 53 million filers, nearly 45% claimed one of President Trump's signature tax cuts. The average tax cut for filers benefiting from one of President's new tax cuts is over $800. Over 6 million filers have claimed no tax on tips with an average deduction of $7,100. Over 25 million filers have claimed no tax on overtime with an average deduction of $3,100. Over 30 million seniors have claimed the enhanced deduction for seniors with an average deduction of $7,500. And over 1 million filers have claimed no tax on car loan interest on American cars for an average deduction of over $1,800. The average refund this filing season is over $3,400. Over 34 million families have claimed Republicans' enhanced child tax credit, which is permanently doubled and expanded by the working families tax cuts. Over 105 million filers have claimed the permanently doubled standard deduction, simplifying tax filing for millions across America. So as much as people do not like to pay their taxes, and we saw a survey today that 70% of Americans still believe that they are overtaxed, this is a great day for the American people.
Thank you, Scott and Kelly. We'll now open it up to questions. You're welcome to ask me questions or either of the great cabinet officials next to me. And we'll start, as always, with our new media seat. Mr. Posobiec, why don't you kick us off?
Thank you, Caroline. Secretary Bessent, if I may, there's been this media narrative out there that while we see the data on tax refunds, that it's not good enough, that the tax season has been too soft. What is your response to this media narrative regarding the tax refunds?
Look, it's been an incredible tax season. We have done more with less at the IRS, that we have moved over millions of taxpayers to digital tax accounts, and that leaves us able to service more taxpayers in person and on the phone. And as we can see, the economy was very strong. We are seeing growth across the board in all areas, and as Kelly said, small business, Main Street are really the big beneficiaries, and this is what they don't want you to hear. That Wall Street always done great. This administration is focused on parallel prosperity and bringing prosperity back to Main Street, and that starts with people keeping more of their money.
And one for Caroline, as well as the administration in general, if I may. This past Saturday, I published a video of now former Representative Eric Swalwell in bed. The president's heading to Las Vegas. Well, Eric Swalwell was in Las Vegas in this video. I'm told, according to geotagging, this scandal has erupted now. Accusers coming forward, many others coming forward, as well as questions regarding his extremely close relationship with Arizona Senator Ruben Gallego. And I want to know if the administration had any comment on the fact that Senator Gallego seemed to be very vocal about wanting the release of the Epstein files, and yet when questions come to his own involvement with Eric Swalwell, he doesn't seem to want to provide anything.
Yeah, look, I think the accusations and allegations against former Representative Swalwell are despicable and disgusting. I think it's also quite plausible, as you point out, Jack, that there were many other Democrats in this town on Capitol Hill who knew about his perhaps illegal behavior, certainly his disgusting and inappropriate behavior, and why were they silent for so long? I think those are questions that must be raised of these sitting representatives, including Mr. Gallego, and I hope that the journalists in this room will do their jobs, and the journalists on Capitol Hill will do their jobs to ask Democrats in power how they knew about such despicable behavior from one of their elected representatives for so long, but never said or did anything about it. So that's what we hope to see as far as the White House and the president is concerned. Thank you. Peter.
Thank you. I have one for you and then one for Secretary Bessent.
Sure.
For you, Karoline, there are now 10 American scientists who have either gone missing or died since mid-2024. They all reportedly had access to classified nuclear or aerospace material. Is anybody investigating this to see if these things are connected?
I've seen the report, Peter. I haven't spoken to our relevant agencies about it. I will certainly do that and we'll get you an answer. If true, of course, that's definitely something I think this government and administration would deem worth looking into. So let me do that for you.
Thank you. And Secretary Bessent, it doesn't sound like we're going to have $3 a gallon gas by summertime, which we had initially been told by the Energy Secretary. He now says that it would be very aggressive if we're going to get to the $3 a gallon gas by the summer. So when are we really going to get $3 a gallon gas?
Well, I think that's going to be the up to how the negotiations go. President Trump said this morning that he thinks we're nearing the end. The U.S. kept their side on the ceasefire. We've stopped firing. The Straits of Hormuz have not been completely reopened, so we will see. And I'm optimistic that during the summer we will see gas with a 3 in front of it sooner rather than later. It's Bank Week here in D.C., so I've been meeting with a lot of my Middle Eastern counterparts, the finance ministers, and they all say that once the straits are open, they can start pumping again within 1 week.
So not by summer, like Memorial Day, but maybe by Labor Day?
Again, I'm optimistic that sometime between June 20th and September 20th that we can have $3 gas again. And as I said this morning too, we are going to be watching the gas stations because they raise prices very quickly when when the crude oil prices went up. We hope they'll bring them down just as quickly as crude oil prices have come down, which they've come down substantially just in the past 10 days.
Great. Sure.
Thank you so much, Karoline. Can you give us an update on the president's thinking on the next attorney general? A lot of names have been going around, like Ron DeSantis, Rudy Giuliani, Ed Martin. They're being floated as contenders. What qualities is the president looking for in a new AG? And will there be accountability for what many have described as weaponization within Biden's office when he was the president?
Sure. Well, certainly ensuring that there's accountability for the weaponization of justice that took place under the Biden administration is a top priority for this president. With respect to names that are floated, there are always names floated in the press. Sometimes I have a chuckle when I read some of the reports about certain people floated for certain jobs. As far as the president is concerned right now, Todd Blanche remains the acting attorney general. The president feels he's doing a good job, and that's where it remains right now. I don't have any personnel updates for you today. Annie.
Thank you, Karoline. I have a question for you and also for the Treasury Secretary. First of all, there was an interview that Dr. Mehmet Oz did recently where he described the president's views on his own diet. He said that he argued that diet soda is good for him because it kills grass. And if you pour it onto the grass, the grass is killed and it therefore must kill cancer cells. I'm wondering if you can, was this sort of an accurate description of how the president sees?
Look, as we all know in this room, I think you know the president has a very good sense of humor. It's one of his most underreported characteristics, I would say. I have heard him tell this joke before. I think the Wall Street Journal should get a better sense of humor.
And then another one for you. Has the president filed his taxes and is he going to release them publicly?
It's actually a very good question. I have not inquired with the president directly about his own taxes, but I'm happy to do so and we'll get you an answer on that.
Secretary Bessent,
I have filed my taxes.
The president has publicly said that you are the reason that he has not fired Chairman Jay Powell. Will you make that case again to him, as he's recently said that he still wants to fire the chairman?
Look, I am confident that the process that we have laid out in terms of Kevin Warsh becoming the next Fed chair, he's going to have the hearing on the 21st of this month. He's a great candidate. We know that the Republicans on the Senate Banking Committee are aligned in that, and I am very optimistic that Kevin Warsh will be the chair of the Fed on time, and that will be a moot question.
Stephen, go ahead.
Caroline. Secretary Bessent, you mentioned that the no tax on overtime is the biggest one that people are claiming. I think you said 25 million people. Have you seen evidence that more companies are offering overtime or that people are working more overtime and increasing their productivity? And the second question, the health insurance industry is advertising heavily in D.C., describing themselves as the good guys in the whole healthcare system. President Trump has threatened to haul in their executives and force them to lower prices. Can you provide any update on the administration's efforts there?
Okay, so I'll take the second one last because that's not my area. I don't wear a lot of hats here, but I am sure that the president makes his views known with corporate executives, and if that is true, then they will be hauled before him. And with overtime, as Kelly and I go out and talk to employers and workers around the country, they all want more overtime. And there was this narrative that I think over 2 million illegal aliens have either voluntarily deported or been deported, and that there would be a worker shortage. Well, what better way to fill that gap than with overtime for hardworking Americans and for them to keep more of it?
Yeah, I'll just add that a great example are the factories that we see coming back thanks to 100% Made in America expensing. Coosa Steel is a great example in Rome, Georgia, where the owner was down to running one shift 1 day a week. He's up to 2 or 3 shifts 5 or 6 days a week. So thanks to reindustrializing this nation through our small manufacturing base, which most manufacturers in America meet the small business definition, 98% of them, we're seeing more shifts taking place, more opportunities for overtime, and then more willingness of workers to take on overtime shifts, because in the past they were penalized by the tax system for taking on overtime.
Elizabeth, go ahead. Thank you. This is for Administrator Loeffler. You talked about how the One Big Beautiful Bill benefits small businesses. With small business optimism falling in March, is the administration planning on providing any additional tax relief or other resources to small businesses that have been affected by high fuel prices during their run operation?
Yeah, so one data point does not a trend make, and the long-term trend under President Trump has been for small business optimism to be above its 52-year average. Under Joe Biden, small business optimism fell below that average for 34 consecutive months because small business was being crushed by regulation, massive red tape, the threat of high taxes, and all the burdens of the Green New Deal. So right now, small businesses are really in growth mode. They're planning to hire, and the optimism is very strong. If you see in the NAM survey, National Association of Manufacturers came out, their optimism is up 5 points. So I think this is temporary, and we'll get back on trend.
What's the status of extending the Iran ceasefire, Caroline?
Yes, so I saw some reporting, again, bad reporting this morning, that we had formally requested an extension of the ceasefire. That is not true at this moment. We remain very much engaged in these negotiations, in these talks. You heard from the Vice President directly and the President this week that these conversations are productive and ongoing, and that's where we are right now. I've also seen some reporting about the potentiality for in-person discussions again. Those discussions are being had, but nothing is official until you hear it from us here at the White House. But we feel good about the prospects of a deal. The President mentioned that in his interview yesterday, and it's obviously in the best interest of Iran to meet the President's demands. I think he's made his red lines in these negotiations very clear to the other side, and so we are continuing to see how these conversations go.
Would those talks be in Islamabad, or where would they be the next round?
They would very likely be in the same place as they were last time, yes. With the same, I would just want to make one point that's important to the President. The Pakistanis have been incredible mediators throughout this process, and we really appreciate their friendship and their efforts to bring this deal to a close. So they are the only mediator in this negotiation. While there have been many countries around the world who want to offer their help, the President feels it's important to continue to streamline this communication through the Pakistanis, and so that's what continues to take place. Will.
Thank you, Caroline. How much room do you see for additional sanctions being placed on Iran, and do you feel like the United States is getting enough support from allies on that front? There was a letter that went to Oman and some other allies that suggested maybe the sanctions weren't, this could be for Secretary Bessent as well, but the sanctions basically weren't having the effect that the United States wanted.
I'll let the Treasury Secretary, who's in charge of sanctions, answer that question.
Yeah, I think that's not a correct characterization. Yesterday, we announced Operation Economic Fury, and we, for over a year, we have had maximum pressure on the Iranians, both on blocking payments into the Iranian state and going after the accounts of the IRGC. One of what may prove to be fatal mistakes that the Iranians made was bombing their GCC neighbors, and who are now willing to be much more transparent in terms of the funds or do a deeper dive in investigating the funds that are held within their banking systems. So we have pushed out to them the request that we want to freeze more funds of the leadership of the IRGC and any members of Iranian leadership. The other thing that we have done is we have told countries that if you are buying Iranian oil, that if Iranian money is sitting in your banks, we are now willing to apply secondary sanctions, which is a very stern measure. And the Iranians should know that this is going to be the financial equivalent of what we saw in the kinetic activities.
Is this an example of expanding the war economically as opposed to militarily? Is this another phase in the...
Exactly.
Secretary, what was the coordination? Any updates on the insurance program, the U.S. reinsurance program for ships and tankers sailing through the Strait of Hormuz? Any update on that, sir?
Well, it's now up to $40 billion. It's run through the DFC, and we are waiting for the ships to be able to get some semblance of normality, and then they can come to the DFC and our private sector partners and request the insurance.
And what do you tell private shipping companies out there right now nervous about this whole thing, saying, wondering if they should even get near the strait?
What's that?
What do you tell to encourage shipping companies to do business through the strait?
Well, I think we're going to have to wait and see when they are permanently open, because this is a mechanism. When we declare that it is safe, they also have to have insurance. Lloyd's of London had skyrocketing insurance during the time. The rates are still very high. So we want to provide, the U.S. government will make a profit on this, but we want to provide a more normalized level and an economically sound basis for ships to move in and out of the Gulf as they did before the start of the conflict.
Caroline, I appreciate it. Thanks, Caroline. Yeah, thanks, Caroline. I appreciate it. So I want to cover two topics, if I could, the tax day, but also the confirmation. So the confirmation hearing set for next week for Kevin Warsh, but Senator Tom Tillis is still a no, and he's holding firm on that. How are you going to win over Senator Tillis to get this confirmation out of committee?
Look, I'm sure Senator Tillis wants to do the best thing for the Federal Reserve, for the American people. He has publicly said that Kevin Warsh is a great candidate for the chair. So let's get to the hearings and see where we are then.
I want to ask you about tax day, if I could. So the tax gains that you've talked about through the One Big Beautiful Bill, is that going to offset the consternation from Americans, for lack of a better term, over the $4 gallon of gas?
Well, again, as I said, no one's ever objected to more money in their pocket. So the Americans have more money. They can decide how they want to spend it. And I did want to come back to the overtime question, because I was up in Westchester County last Friday, and I met with several of the first responders and police unions. And those, whether it's our great policemen, our firemen, our ambulance drivers, they all now want more overtime. And how great it is to have them to be able to be engaged and keep more of their money.
Secretary, thank you, Caroline. For both of you, perhaps, are President Trump's threats of a 50% tariff against China still on the table now, or is the letter exchange that we talked about now taking that off of the table?
Well, as you know, the president spoke about the letter with respect to he and the correspondence between he and President Xi. President Xi assured the president that they are not supplying Iran with weapons throughout this conflict, and that assurance was made to the president. It's obviously something the administration keeps close tabs on with respect to tariff. You have any update on that, Mr. Secretary?
I don't have an update on the tariffs, but I do have an update on sanctions. Iran is used to be the largest state sponsor of terrorism. China was purchasing more than 90% of their oil, which is about 8% of China's energy needs. We believe this blockade in the straits, there will be a pause of Chinese buying. But I will tell you that 2 Chinese banks received letters from the U.S. Treasury. I'm not going to identify the banks, but we told them that if we can prove that there is Iranian money flowing through your accounts, then we are willing to put on secondary sanctions.
And are you...
Nick, go ahead.
Thank you,
Caroline. Go ahead, Nick.
Just a quick follow-up. And just so my question, sure. Are you considering any more sanctions relief, Mr. Secretary, for countries that are suffering right now in order to get more oil to your allies?
We will not be renewing the general license on Russian oil, and we will not be renewing the general license on Iranian oil. Because again, that was oil that was on the water prior to March 11th.
Right.
So all that has been used.
Thank you,
Nick, go ahead.
Questions for the Treasury Secretary. As you both noted, 53 million Americans have used one of these new tax exemptions the president enacted. Can you speak to not only the relief that's bringing specifically working class Americans like waiters, bartenders, overtime workers, but also the impact this is going to have on the economy?
Well, a couple of things there is I can tell you, I think Kelly's very popular, but I think with service workers, I may be the most popular cabinet secretary in D.C. because when I show up, a doorman, the not so much bartenders, but waiters, waitresses, they all say, thank you for no tax on tips. Again, I was in a diner up in Westchester County, and this is a home run in terms of what's happening with these folks. And what we can't tell you yet, and we will be able to provide data at a later date, that 52 million is how many have used at least one of those. So we expect that there are probably multiple filers who have used at least more than one of those 4 signature things. And look, again, this is the America First, Americans, hardworking Americans keeping more of their money, just like with our small businesses. If we go back and look, when you hear the left talk about this was a tax cut for millionaires and billionaires, they wanted to raise the tax rate for everyone making more than $500,000. That is a small business killer.
Thank you so much. I have one question for the Secretary and then the Administrator. Mr. Secretary, since we're on the topic of China a few minutes ago, we are a little over a year past Liberation Day, the tariffs. The goods trade deficit with China has dropped sharply. Are those gains sustainable, and are you worried about any retaliatory actions that could go against those gains?
I actually think we're going to be building on those gains in terms of the trade deficit dropping with China. Since last summer, there's been great stability in the relationship, and really the keystone to the relationship is the strong respect that the 2 leaders have between each other. My experience has been when the communication is at the top, then we follow that directive and those wishes. We had the meeting in Busan, Korea. In October, we will be having the state visit in Beijing, and so I expect great stability in the relationship, but that doesn't mean that our trade deficit can't continue dropping.
Go ahead. And for the Administrator, I know that there are orders and shipments of factory equipment. They are at record highs. How many small businesses has the SBA assisted with loans and supports, with loans to support them?
Well, the SBA set an all-time lending record last year of $45 billion under President Trump, because small businesses now have access to the capital that they need to build in America. Again, we are becoming a nation of builders, and we see that on the ground. Factories expanding. As a result, we have record PMI, which is Purchasing Managers Index, manufacturing expansion, 2 consecutive months in a row of export records. And so when you look at where our nation has come in terms of export-import imbalance, it's been unfair to the American worker and to American industry, and we're reshoring whole industries because of this tax bill.
Libby.
There's
Libby, go ahead. Thank you, Caroline. I have 2 questions for you. The first one,
is about Iran. The second one's actually about United Airlines that I want to ask you about. So on Iran, is there a timeline for how long this blockade is going to remain in place in the Strait of Hormuz by the United States that President Trump has voiced to you or that you've heard among officials?
Sure. I will never set timelines on behalf of the President of the United States, but with respect to the blockade, as you know, it has been fully implemented, and it's being enforced against vessels of all nations entering or departing Iranian ports. I want to make that point clear. I've seen some misreporting on that as well. This includes all Iranian ports on the Arabian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. And our U.S. forces in the region are supporting the freedom of navigation for vessels that are transiting the strait to and from non-Iranian ports. So I know some in the press were confused about that. We are supporting the freedom of navigation, just not with respect to any tanker or vessel that would benefit the economy of Iran as these negotiations continue.
And then on United, so there was reports that the CEO of United proposed a merger with American Airlines. This would affect tens of millions of Americans. That was proposed in a meeting with President Trump. Was that a merger that he has voiced any kind of support of?
It's not anything that we have a position on or anything we're commenting on. I know it's an idea that has been proposed by private industry, but it's not something the President or the White House have an opinion on or are weighing in on at this time. John, go ahead.
Thanks a lot, Caroline. This is for Secretary Bessent. On Monday of next week, importers can start requesting claims for tariff refunds. And my understanding is $127 billion eligible for refunds. What's that process look like? How can a porter and an importer request such a refund going forward?
That's not being run out of Treasury. We would just be the paymaster. So that's being run out of CPB. Yep.
And so explain that process. I understand you're not running it. How does that process actually work? If you're an importer, you paid these tariffs, the Supreme Court found that those tariffs were illegal. What's the process for them to get back that money?
Well, they would be in touch with the CPB, and I think the number you're quoting is so that's the amount who have already requested refunds. So they are already in the chute, and we'll see what the timeline is for that.
Will that affect the U.S. economy, all of those refunds coming out of the U.S. Treasury?
We'll have to see what comes out, and we'll have to see what the companies do with them. Just to be clear, thanks to the Supreme Court, some of this money is going back to China. So is that going to affect the U.S. economy? I don't know.
A question for Secretary Bessent.
Danny, go ahead.
Secretary, you were quoted as saying in an interview earlier this week that it was worth a bit of economic pain for international security. Is that this administration's message to American voters with high gas prices that ahead of the midterms this year that it's worth the economic pain?
Well, the message is the short-term volatility for long-term gain.
That's right. And Danny, if I could add to that, the president's been very clear. Again, as the secretary just said, this is a short-term disruption for the long-term strategic goal of the United States to ensure that the world's leading state sponsor of terror cannot obtain a nuclear weapon. That's a good thing for the American people. That's a good thing for people all over the world. And as the president and his economic and energy team have repeatedly stated, as soon as the operation and now the negotiations with Iran conclude and the strait is reopened, we do expect gas prices to decrease. And thank goodness we have a president and an administration that believes in American energy dominance in bringing down prices at the pump. Look at how gas prices decreased over the past year since this president was in office. It's a stark contrast to the previous administration and Democrats in this city who believe in hampering our domestic energy industry, who believe in importing our most precious resources, who believe in implementing policies that created the worst inflation crisis in history. So President Trump has built the greatest economy in the world before. He is doing it again. Of course, we have this short-term disruption, but again, it's for the long-term strategic goal of ensuring that these terrorists cannot possess a nuclear bomb. Jennifer.
For Secretary Bessent, on the Russian oil, I know the sanctions waivers have expired, but how much money did Russia benefit from that temporary sanctions rules? You initially said about $2 billion. Is that?
It could have been $2 billion. We don't know. But let's think of a different world where oil spiked to 150, and they would have made a lot more. by doing that, by pushing the Russian barrels that were already on the water, they were going to be sold, they were going to China no matter what, that we pushed them to our allies, we helped stabilize the oil price, and as you can see, there were doomsday scenarios. Oil's going to 150, it's going to 200, it's going to $250. West Texas crude for the front month delivery is about $92 or $93 now.
Thank you, everybody. I know we have two very busy cabinet secretaries with us here today. Before we do depart, just one final announcement. As you know, this year we celebrate America's 250th birthday. In honor of this historic occasion, President Trump and the Department of Interior will submit plans for the United States Triumphal Ark, which will be an architectural masterpiece to celebrate our history right here in Washington, D.C. This is a rendering of the Ark for you. Thank you, Peter. It's quite beautiful, as you can see, and this monumental ark will beam at 250 feet tall in honor of 250 years and stand on ground that is currently empty green space in Memorial Circle on Columbia Island, a man-made island in the Potomac River managed by the National Park Service. The United States Triumphal Ark will be outfitted with beautiful artwork and depictions celebrating the success of the American people over our 250-year history and the enduring triumph of the American spirit. Long after everyone in this room is gone, our children and grandchildren will remain inspired by this national monument. Beginning construction this year on the architectural ark is a fitting way to commemorate the 250th anniversary of American independence. Great nations build beautiful structures that cultivate national pride and love of country, and this triumphal ark should be a project that all Americans of all political persuasions can support, because it's a monument for every American to celebrate 250 years of our nation's proud history. And again, the plans for this will be submitted tomorrow. We'll have many more announcements with respect to our 250th anniversary in the coming months as we look forward to the 4th of July. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day.
All right. So I'm pretty sure she had to hurry up and end that, because the next section of our show, Melania Trump is due to come up any minute now with her presentation about foster care. Just a quick recap on that press conference. It's just amazing. You can always tell when they get their marching orders. We have a day here where millions of Americans are getting bigger refunds than ever before. We have millions of Americans who are paying less in taxes, and the media really doesn't want to talk about it. Even Jack, who was sitting in the seat, decided to talk about something else. I'm telling you, these people walk in with pre-designed questions of what they're going to say, instead of listening to people and talking to them about what they're putting out there in terms of their messaging. It's all one-sided. They can't wait to get back, put it on their Twitter profile, make a video about it. I asked this, blah, blah, blah. You didn't even listen to what they said. It's amazing. It's amazing that this is where we are with the media. I would expect more out of the person sitting in the new media seat to actually listen. Listen to these guys talk and understand and have a question for him. You know, there could have been so many questions about the taxes and how things are happening. One of the big ones would have been, hey, how's Howard Lutnick doing and getting rid of taxes completely? All kinds of things that the American people care about. Your media doesn't give a shit about, none whatsoever. So getting ready to go ahead and bring up Melania. Before that, let me talk to you about one of today's sponsors is Brightcore. You see, the war in Iran is having a devastating effect on people living there locally, and it's also affecting people all over the world. What most people don't realize is it's affecting everyone on a global scale as well, even if we aren't there physically. Every time a missile is launched or a bomb goes off, tiny microplastic particles are being spread into the atmosphere, leaching into our soil and our water, and eventually ending up in our body, causing irreparable harm. They cross your gut lining, they leach into your blood, and they disrupt everything. They've been shown to alter your gut bacteria, suppress your immune response, and increase your risk for heart attack and stroke, cognitive diseases, and even cancer. There's now a plastic spoon's worth of microplastics in the average human noggin. but your gut can help you fight back. Kimchi 1 from Brightcore Nutrition is a potent ally in this toxic world. And I told you guys, I went down to Miami this past week, South Florida, and we saw Kimchi Mart. And I was like, that is so cool. But kimchi can actually be an ally in all of the stuff that's trying to attack your body. You know, all these studies that are coming out are showing that kimchi is packed with over 900 probiotic strains unique to kimchi and proven to bind and excrete microplastics, and it's going to help you detox from the inside out. Your body was never designed to handle plastic, especially microplastic, but your gut was designed to protect you. You just have to give it the right tools to enable it to do so. And I got to tell you, Kimchi 1 is one of those tools. That's for sure. With Kimchi 1, you can get an exclusive offer from Brightcore by clicking the link in the description to get 25% off your entire order. Or for an even better deal, you can call my friends at Brightcore for up to 50% off your order and free shipping. Give them a call now at 888-418-6738. And I'm so happy that Brightcore has been a partner here, because not only has it helped us be able to produce these shows, but it also has helped me physically as well. All right, so they're getting ready for Melania to come on. And while she's coming on, I have a short video from Scott Bessent earlier, which will allow me time to go get the feed configured. So take a listen to this.
The CNBC Invest in America Forum kicking off in Washington. Sarah Eisen currently speaking to the Treasury Secretary. Let's join.
Because this year it's going to look a lot different when it comes to taxes, right?
It is. Well, I think, look, I think no Americans like the April 15th, but I think more and more this year, refunds are up 13%. And we've got, as of April 12th, we had 52 million returns filed. And of those returns, 45% of them have one of the president's 4 signature policies in the working families tax cuts. So no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, reduced taxes for seniors, and deductibility of auto loans for American-made cars. By far, what we're seeing on the tax returns, the biggest is almost 25% have taken no tax on overtime. And it's the American way. You want to work harder, you keep more of it.
And Trump accounts, that's new too. Huge part of the story.
Trump accounts, easy to remember, Form 4547. If any of you haven't filled it out, but we've got 5 million Trump accounts open, and 1.2 million of those, the filers are eligible, their children are eligible for the $1,000 seed investment from Treasury into those accounts. So
you know what's funny about that? I showed you earlier, Hakeem Jeffries was talking about the investment class versus the working class. I don't wonder what he thinks about these babies who are now part of the investment class, because they are.
5 million open for children, the 0 to 18. And then for children born during President Trump's term, they'll get the $1,000 seed. So 1.2 million of those so far.
Yeah, which is news that you're breaking here. And I know that you've been working really hard on this, and it's one of the signature policies. You know, there's always critics, but there's still this concern that it's not going to go far enough to reducing inequality, which is a big problem in our economy right now, and that it's just another way for the wealthy to use a tax-advantaged fund.
How many benefits do the so-called disadvantaged people get on a daily basis? Let's see. You get food stamps. You get welfare. You get Medicaid. You get bus passes. You get Obama phones. So over here, we have people who are getting accounts put together for babies. And the idea behind putting the money in those accounts for babies is so that when they grow up, they don't get food stamps and welfare and Section 8 and Obama phones. You understand out there, people? At some point, we don't want you to keep getting all these benefits. That's not a bad thing. We don't want to keep taking care of you. You weren't our children. We want to take care of our children. And right now, here's a way to make them self-sufficient when they get older. I'm sorry if there's a disparity, but how about this? How about you cash in something and begin putting it into an account for your babies? Babies, babies, daddies, whatever. Why is it always that we have to take care of you? Is there anything that you're expecting these people who constantly do this to have some sort of personal accountability, some sort of initiative to do better? Instead of doing this, well, it's inequitable. You're helping these people. They're getting. Did anybody say that these were only for white babies? No. Anybody say these are only for, Spanish babies? No. It's for any kid. It's you who are who are creating this inequity. And if you can't do it this year, how about next year? Are you already precluding you're never going to be in a physical or financial position to add money into your child's account? At some point, and I wish that's probably why I'm not a politician, because I would have said to her, how about they get off their asses and do something for their own babies? Just saying. You know this is happening. You know they're in place. Why don't you do something about it? Why are you saying it's not fair? Well, guess what? Life's not fair. At some point, we need to get a bumper sticker or a shirt and go, life's not fair. It's how it is. I can tell you firsthand, life's not fair, because when I drive down A1A and I see them 10, 20, $30 million houses, like, that's not fair. No, it's just the opposite. Well, and here comes Miss Melania right now. Wow, that was quick.
Fostering the Future Initiative, combined with the strong work that Chairman Darren LaHood and Ranking Member Danny Davis have done, has created a very unique opportunity for reform. And I am committed, as I said earlier, committed to advancing legislation through this committee as quickly as possible. This roundtable provides an opportunity for the First Lady to share with us some of the important stories she has heard from foster youth about the need for reform, and for members of this committee to hear directly about reforms that we are working on. I'd like to recognize the foster youth here with us. We have Jaden Martinez and Jocelyn Fetting, and we thank you for your willingness to share your stories.
Look, the wealthy don't need tax advantage funds. That I think you were there on launch day, yep. And only in Trump world would the Treasury Secretary be on stage with Nicki Minaj, and who was a great supporter. She's
contributing. Right?
She's contributed to a wide group, but one of the interviewers said, well.
I mean, you don't talk in your car
about reforms that we are working on. I'd like to recognize the foster youth here with us. We have Jaden Martinez and Jocelyn Fetting, and we thank you for your willingness to share your stories.
All right, so I don't know what's wrong with that particular feed, so I may have to find another feed because their feed keeps dropping, and I don't want to have to deal with that. So let me finish with Scott, and I'll find another feed.
It shows that the compounding will only be, once the account opens up when a child is 18, it will only be $5,000. And how elitist, how tone deaf, because a couple of weeks ago, I had the Mortgage Brokers Association in, and they said that of the mortgages that get started, only 30% get completed, so 70% fall off rate. And the fall off rate could be because the potential buyers don't have $1,000 or $2,000 to pay for their credit scores, to pay for the title insurance. So to say that $5,000 in the queue to become part of the American dream and be a homeowner, like $5,000 would have helped get those other 70% of people across the line. And I think you're going to have Michael Dell on
he's up
later.
next.
And Michael and Susan Dell made this incredible gift to the children of
foster care, never having found a permanent family. It was not safe for them to return home, and they were not connected to other kin or an adoptive family. Although Congress created the Chafee program to help older foster youth transition out of care, lack of awareness and limited funding mean less than 1/4 of youth aged 16 to 21 actually receive Chafee services. The path for youth exiting care is treacherous. Many drop out of school, become parents young, struggle with untreated mental health issues and trauma, and experience homelessness. Over the past months, Chair LaHood and I have searched together for true common ground on policies affecting older youth who were or are in foster care. I commend my friend, Mr. LaHood, for a bipartisan process that should be a model for all of our work. A sincere, thoughtful collaboration where we both talked and listened. This collaborative process yielded 6 pieces of legislation that reflect real consensus. I'm proud of these first steps that represent real progress, and I believe that we can accomplish far more, especially as we are now joined by the First Lady. As we listen to these youth today, I hope my colleagues will consider what more we can do to support these youth and the new approaches of our legislation. Notably, there is a critical need for more investment. Aside from during the pandemic, this committee has only increased Chafee funding by $3 million since its creation in 1999. The amount of money needed would be tiny and insignificant compared to the fiscal impact of a routine tax markup in our committee or a day at the Defense Department. Yet such funding would be life-changing for foster youth. In particular, I know the First Lady has engaged deeply with foster youth and is committed to helping them. And so, First Lady, I believe that your voice in support of the resources needed to implement these bipartisan bills and expand and reach onto the Chafee program, added to ours, would make all the difference between first steps and transformative change for youth. So I thank you so very much for your interest, for your engagement, your involvement. I thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Davis, for your commitment to the foster children of the United States. I will now turn to the Work and Welfare Chairman, Mr. Darren LaHood, for his remarks.
Thank you, Chairman Smith, for having this full committee roundtable. And I want to welcome you, Madam First Lady, and just commend you for your passion and commitment to our foster youth. Your voice and the way that you've championed this cause is inspiring, and we're grateful to have you here today. Your longstanding attention to uplifting America's foster youth through the Be Best and Fostering the Future initiatives has been a catalyst for meaningful and transformative change. I don't know if everybody realizes, but your engagement with this committee on foster care dates back to 2022, when you co-authored an op-ed with our colleague, former Representative Jackie Walorski, highlighting May as National Foster Care Month in 2022. We thank you for that. And as chairman of the Work and Welfare Subcommittee, one of my priorities has been how do we modernize the Chafee foster care program? Last January, we received a troubling report from the Government Accountability Office, which found states across the country have been returning unused Chafee funds since 2007, despite the need from foster youth. In 2023 alone, more than 30 states returned $8.9 million in unused funds. Over the past year, a bipartisan group of members of this committee has been working to develop and introduce common sense reforms to make sure SHAFE dollars are getting to the youth that need them. And I want to thank Ranking Member Davis and my friend and the members who are leading these bills for their leadership and partnership on this. During our hearings, I have consistently heard that access to stable housing is one of our biggest barriers that youth face as they work towards self-sufficiency. One study found that 35% of foster youth experience homelessness by age 21. We also know that federal programs are fragmented and don't always coordinate with each other. To address this, I introduced the Foster Youth Housing Opportunity Act with my colleague, Gwen Moore, to improve coordination between child welfare programs and the Melania Trump Foster Youth to Independence Housing Program. As you know, many public housing authorities have been unable to secure the vouchers required for supportive services, preventing youth from being able to utilize the voucher as intended. Our bill, which has more than 100 endorsements, would allow states to use SHAFE funds for housing supportive services and aligns age eligibility between the programs, reducing a key barrier to access. This bill is one of the 6 bipartisan bills with important reforms to SHAFE that members of this committee have worked on together. Mrs. Trump, your presence here today and leadership on fostering the future has elevated foster care at the highest level of government. Thank you for your commitment and for taking the time to come here today to speak with members on both sides of the aisle about these reforms and listen to the different perspectives in the room. Through our bipartisan efforts and with continued support, Mrs. Trump, I am confident that we can successfully advance these reforms through Congress. This isn't just a roundtable to discuss ideas. We have legislation and an opportunity to deliver a transition-age foster youth with the tools that they need to achieve greater opportunity, upward mobility, and long-term success. And I am committed to working with you and my Democrat colleagues to do what it takes to get this across the finish line, to turn words into actions. Again, I thank you, Mrs. Trump, and Jaden and Jocelyn for joining us here today. And I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. LaHood. No one has done more than the First Lady to champion the cause of foster youth, and I look forward to hearing her perspective. So I would now like to turn the floor over to the First Lady of the United States.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chairman Smith, for hosting today's critical discussion surrounding America's foster care community. Chairman LaHood and Ranking Member Davis, your efforts to shape the legislation with your subcommittee are of tremendous value to our nation and to all the representatives of this prestigious committee who have worked so hard to introduce decisive reform within foster care. Mr. Miller, Mr. Chow, Mr. Moran, Mr. Yakim, Ms. Moore, Mr. Evans, and Mr. Kerry, thank you. I would also like to extend my warm welcome to all of the Congresspeople in attendance today. Your bipartisan support is appreciated. And finally, a special thanks to Jacqueline Ronnie Faring and Jordan Martinez. We are gathered here today not because America's children rely on us, but rather because America's children are our moral equals. As parents and leaders, it is our ethical obligation to ensure American children develop emotionally and physically within a safe environment. As a community, we strive to nurture our children's curiosity, protect their innocence, and guide them with hearts full of care. Through respect, participation, and protection, American parents deliver the essentials to our next generation: housing, nutrition, clothing, and healthcare. In safeguarding our children's well-being, we shape the integrity of our nation. But to get there, a strong knowledge base is required. Education is the cornerstone of a child's future. Clearly, education is the foundation that can remain throughout one's lifetime. Yes, knowledge is permanent. In 2021, I launched Fostering the Future, a nationwide initiative to provide individuals from foster care community with access to education and at the university level. My goal is to prepare these individuals to secure entry-level jobs, become financially independent, and eventually innovate, create new businesses, and generate employment opportunities. When I first developed Fostering the Future, one thing became very clear. The foster care community requires action over awareness. This truth stands today. I'm proud to share that Fostering the Future currently maintains a footprint of over 20 universities across the country from coast to coast. In fact, academic institutions such as Vanderbilt University, the University of Miami, LSU, UVA, University of Texas, The Ohio State University, and the University of Alabama all educate Fostering the Future students. Although reports vary, roughly 3% of individuals in foster care community earn a college degree in 2025. We can close this gap. But still, foster youth face a special set of challenges outside the classroom that have a serious impact of their academic performance. These issues include housing instability, educational advocacy, financial barriers, transportation, continuity, access to technology, and other related issues. New legislation for the foster care community is a moral imperative. Some of you joined me in the White House last November for the signing of the Fostering the Future Executive Order. And although the executive order is a transformative vision, Congress now has the opportunity to create a lasting positive impact on this community. Beginning here in this room, we can once again change people's lives. With the new legislation, we can ensure that the opportunity is more than helpful for individuals in the foster care community. It can be their birthright. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Trump. It's an honor to have you with us. I would now like to turn to the two foster youth that we have with us today. Jaden Martinez is from Texas and a student at Stephen F. Austin University. Jaden has been in the foster care system since the age of 6. He has been formally recognized by Texas Governor Greg Abbott as, quote, the son of Texas. It's a big state, so the son of Texas for his advocacy efforts. Jaden, I invite you to share a few words.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairman Smith, Chairman LaHood, our First Lady, and members of the committee. My name is Jaden Martinez. I'm a freshman at Stephen F. Austin State University. Recently, Governor Greg Abbott named me the son of Texas for my resilience, a title earned by refusing to let the foster care system live in my future. But that honor doesn't describe where I started. Before I draped the flags over my shoulders, I was a 6-year-old entering foster care, scared, hungry, but hopeful. At the age of 10, I received one last hug from my mother, a hug I wish would take me to magical places I read about in storybooks. Instead, she walked out of the office in tears. I never saw my mother again. I became a war of the state, a title that has never showed how much that terrified little boy just wanted a hug from his mother. I waited years for adoption, but that family never came. So at 16, I decided if I was going to be chosen, I would choose myself. I renamed myself a son of the state, and I spent my 18th birthday alone in a dark, crowded boys' home. I entered an independent living program with $42 and everything I had left. I lived off of that money for a month while trying to eat and start school. I made it into college, but my education was spotty for moving placements so often. I sat on my first semester with 19 hours, including remedial math, desperately trying to learn what I missed in high school. I had success through great luck and a passionate new family. But success for a foster youth shouldn't be a result of luck. It should be a result of opportunity. And today, U.S. Congress have the power to turn luck into law by passing the bipartisan Chaffee bills. In Texas, I received $2,007.50 a semester. For a youth on their own, it disappears in a blink of an eye. I used for bedding, a laptop, and professional clothing so I could stand before you as the leader that I am. The Post-Secondary Education Access and Success Act raises the ETV cap to $12,000. You provide a bed and food when classes end or for those without families to call. The Workforce Opportunity Act provides remedial support and vocational paths for my brothers and sisters need to thrive. I'm not here to check a box or tell you what you want to hear. I'm here for my brothers and sisters who are in the system who need these bills. I am a product of this system, and I am the son of Texas. And I ask you as our family to invest into us as your children. Pass this package. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jake. Thank you, Jake, very much. Jocelyn Fetting is from Illinois and recently earned her Master's of Social Work from the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. Jocelyn spent 8.5 years in the Illinois foster care system, aging out at 21. She too has been a strong advocate for foster youth, including providing mentorship and guidance to those navigating the foster care system. Jocelyn, I invite you to share a few words and thank you for being here.
Good afternoon. I hope you all are well. First, I'd like to extend a heartfelt thank you to the First Lady, Chairman Smith, Ranking Member Davis, and the committee. Right now, there are thousands of young people from foster care doing everything right and are still struggling. Not because they lack effort or potential, but because the systems meant to support them have not kept pace with their needs. I'm here today with Foster Club, not just as one voice, but as a reflection of those young people whose lives are shaped by the policies we choose. My name is Jocelyn Fetting. I am 22 years old, 23 next week, and I earned both my bachelor's and master's from the University of Illinois. Go Illini. I serve as a substitute teacher, grades pre-K through 8th, and a peer navigator for young adults in foster care. I entered foster care at 12 alongside my younger siblings after losing my parents, but I made the most out of that time, and I graduated with honors and was admitted to a top university. In college, though, even with scholarships, I worked 3 jobs just to meet my basic needs: food, hygiene, housing, transportation. Support like education and training vouchers existed, but it was out of reach. Not because I didn't need it, but because no one ensured I could access it. I carried the emotional weight of being the oldest. To stay connected with my younger siblings, I used to pay my friends for rides to see them. And this pressure made it difficult to succeed academically. So my honors GPA dropped to academic probation. The CONNECT Act would prioritize family connections for youth like me. And while I always knew I wanted to go to college, that path isn't the right option for everyone. My brother found his niche in auto mechanics, and one of my best friends wants to go to cosmetology school. Their goals are just as valid as mine, but they don't always come with the same opportunity or support. The Foster Youth Post-Secondary Education Access and Success Act and the Foster Youth Workforce Opportunity Act would help ensure that no matter the path, young people have the resources they need to succeed. We are expecting young people to achieve self-sufficiency without providing support to do so. That's why each of these bipartisan reforms to the Chafee program matter. They shorten the distance between survival and success. Foster youth are not broken. We are ready, but readiness is not the problem. Access and having people in our corner is. If we truly believe every young person deserves a fair chance, then Congress must pass these reforms, continue to utilize our voices in policy changes, and make sure all foster youth have support. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jocelyn. Prior to our further discussion, I'd like to ask the press to please exit the hearing room.
I guess that's it. That's all they're going to show us. But you know, my mom, way back when I was in high school, my mom used to bring in foster kids, and it was kind of amazing because who are these kids? Why are they here? Why are they eating my food? And my mom knew way back then. She's like, we got to give these kids a shot. And we had first one was a girl, and to this day we still consider her our sister. I mean, I'm talking 40 years later, we still consider her our sister. The second one was a girl as well. She got into some bad stuff, and my mom helped her through it until she was 18, but we haven't seen her in quite some time. So you never know how these kids are going to turn out. But at least, you know, back then it was, you can help out somebody, but you can't really help, you know, give them any sort of control or feature. But I've always had a little bit of a heart tug for kids in those situations because you just want to get them off the street. And I never saw somebody, I mean, I never ran into somebody that had other siblings that were also in foster care. It's got to be a nightmare, especially as you get older, because then as you get older, nobody wants to adopt you. You're 16 and 17, you're considered a young adult, but you got no help. So anyway, I commend Melania for doing that. SV, what you got?
Hey there.
Hey.
I have an update on Trump's schedule tomorrow. It looks like he's going to speak at the church that Charlie Kirk used to attend in Phoenix, Arizona.
Wow.
The TPUSA event is taking place at Dream City Church in Phoenix on Friday, in case anybody didn't know that.
Tomorrow. Wait a minute. What's today?
Oh,
Today's Wednesday.
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. I got ahead of myself there. This is another event for Friday while he's out west. Oh my goodness. Sorry about that.
No, that's how it is. I want to tell everybody what SV just did is I feel like, you remember the song by what was his name? Bob Seger. Or even the one by Bon Jovi. There are all these songs about being on the road and you just forget what day it is. Sometimes because of doing this stuff, I have to like, what's today? Where are we? We Chicago today? What are we doing? Because it's just so crazy.
I'm retired, so every day is the same day for me. I mean, it's crazy.
I've got to look at the sheet and go, okay, we're doing, today's Wednesday. Gotcha. Because you're strung out from the road, as Bob Seger used to say. Turn the page.
Turn the page.
Wow,
we're going to be busy. The next, I think tomorrow you were talking. We're going to probably have another 2 shows, right? You're going to have one this evening, I believe.
Yep, I'm going to do one this evening. We're going to get off early. I got to go look at a house after today, and then tonight. I mean, we're already at 2 hours, so I'm probably going to cut here. I'll show you the interview with because the interview. Let me see how long the interview is with Mark. I believe it's 29 minutes. So I don't want to go to three plus hours if we're going to do another show. But I do want to show you something. I want to show you something. And SV, hold on till I come back to you. Oh, wait a minute. Did you have anything else?
No, there's minor stuff, but we can talk about
no,
that
if it's important, we'll talk about it. But today, the Democrats are all freaking out about, it doesn't help everybody. The poor peoples don't get no refunds. Listen to this story right here. It's only 45 seconds.
2 weeks ago, a 76-year-old man named Melvin, who lives in Benton County in Warsaw, Missouri, near Lake of the Ozarks, called our office. He was almost in tears. He said, "Congressman, you've got to tell this story to the American people." I said, "What is it?" His daughter is a hairstylist. She works a lot on tips. Her husband works a lot of overtime in his job. They have not gotten a refund in years. And this year they just opened their mailbox, opened that envelope, and the check was for $12,000. That's real money. Not just for Warsaw, Missouri, but anywhere in America.
$12,000. The liberals have gone bat poop crazy. The lady who was in the DoorDash thing when she went to the White House, DoorDash is getting lit up. The The liberals are attacking her. They're attacking DoorDash. Anything that shows President Trump in a decent light, they have to tear down. And so this guy gets up there and goes, it was like Christmas. They've got 10 Christmases. They got $12,000. And the Democrats are upset because it's only benefiting the people who are actually paying taxes.
They hate America. They hate America. They just hate America. Well, they hate Trump as well, but
yeah,
they have no answers for anything. They don't want to fix anything. They just want to tear everything down. They don't want anybody to be successful. That's not what I want. I want prosperity. I want to live. You only get one shot at, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd rather somebody, and the whole thing, I hate the idea of refunds to begin with, because a lot of people think it's the government giving you money. The government's not giving you anything. It's your money. And
you don't get interest.
No, it's an interest-free loan that you gave the government for a year. I would just love it to see that instead of getting refunds, don't take out any taxes all year. And at the end of the year, send everybody an invoice and see what happens. But they trap people into the fact of, they take it out of your paycheck, right? You don't even have a choice. That should tell you right there the pro-choice the pro-choice of income. Why can't we have the pro-choice of that? I'd love to hear it, but they don't want anything where you prosper. They don't want anything where you can make your own decisions. Some people were putting in the chat, I was noticing it, and they were saying, I didn't get any deductions. I didn't know what to deduct. And see, that's where the problem is. If you haven't filed as of yet, I would advise you going into maybe Grok, maybe Google Gemini. If you can't afford an accountant, go someplace that you can find out where the deductions are so that you can participate in this. I saw some video where somebody said she made 150 grand this year and she didn't know what to do. She filed it, and now she's got to pay like $15,000. She had no idea what to do. Even people who are making decent money. So, I would definitely try to find out every single thing that's available to you, because there's no way Scott Bessent can rattle all that stuff off, in a meeting or whatever. And the Democrats aren't going to tell you.
I use a $50 tax program, H&R Black. I've been doing my own taxes my entire life. I've never used anybody but myself. Do all the research.
There's what QuickBooks Intuit, they can help you as well. But there's all kinds of programs out there. And the last thing you had texted me about was this whole thing with Fox News. I'm going to show everybody that. Thanks, SV. Let me cut to this.
Well,
so thank you for today. President Trump went off on Fox News big time. SV texted me this, and it says, why is Fox News showing sleazebag Tom Steyer doing a big piece on him right now and probably putting him, quote, into play, instead of talking about the Republican candidates and really good ones like Steve Hilton and Republicans? How can a Republican expect to win that state when they're with their mail-in voting and rigged elections, where you have Fox News promoting the Democrats? Nobody cares about Tom Steyer. He's a loser, but Fox is making it possible for a guy like him to win. Vote for Steve Hilton and turn California around. Well, I don't know if they try to say it was equal time or whatever, but I have been seeing a lot of Tom Steyer, incidentally, right after the Eric Swalwell stuff happened. I didn't see nothing about Tom Steyer. Now all of a sudden you're starting to see him out there. It's so choreographed. It's choreographed, and it's sad how these people are doing things. All right, so just one more check of everything before I go. I'm going to go 7 o'clock tonight, everybody. So if you'd like to join us at 7 p.m., let me just do this check real quick. Okay, oil prices as of right now are still below 98. Let me just refresh. 88.07, about to drop below 88, which is a good thing. Silver price, let me refresh, 79.39. And then gold, let me check this real quick. 48.19, has not done well today. And the stock market itself, we're down 137. So that's where we are with that. Let me go ahead and do super chats, and then I can get ready. I got to go look at a house at 4:30. 7:30, and then we'll be back on at 7 o'clock, and I'll show you that interview about Melania, plus a bunch of other news. If you haven't seen the JD Vance from TP USA, I could show that to you. Not sure if a lot of people want to see it or if they haven't seen it. It's funny how that hasn't been getting a whole lot of play. I'm not sure why. I'm really not sure why people aren't following JD. All right, let me read these to you. Ed Sloan, thank you. Mandami wants people to move out, so there's more of those people moving in so that he can get a Sharia law. Never thought I'd see it right here. James Hammond, this is Europe's own doing. Let them solve it. I completely agree. And Mel Porter, how is West Chicago doing? Not really sure, but I know the ladies from Chicago Flips Red wanted to come back on, so maybe we can get them on as well. All right, I got to go look at a house. Things are going crazy down here. I will see you guys at about 7 or 7:30.
you.